Welcome back, everyone. Going into part two here of Drop Frames, episode 144 with our guest, Mr. Rami Ismail. I think we're going to start off this second half, and I'm going to ask you the lamest question as a host I can think of, but one that streamers get asked nonstop, and that is, what is your go-to, favorite game of all time?
Ooh, gosh. The game I end up going back to most often out of nowhere is a racing game called Split Second.
You mentioned that earlier, and I was like,
Which
really?
is that
Split
for your
second?
was for your Xbox 360?
360, yeah. Yeah, it was, and I don't know why or what it is about that game, but it's after Mario Kart, there was like years where nobody made like a good battle racer, right? Like a racer where you were racing against each other, but you were also trying to screw each other over. And then out of nowhere, just during the same like month, I think, these two games came out called Blur on the one hand
Yep.
and Split Second on the other. And Blur was a lot like Mario Kart. But Split Second, what you would do is by like drifting and drafting and like taking jumps, you would build up this power meter, and then if the power meter got full enough, you could blow up shit in front of you. That was literally it. You just blew up like parked cars, towers, and then if your power meter got large enough, you could blow up large parts of the level that would permanently change the layout of that level for the rest of the race. So a little bit of it was a racing game, but then mostly it was screw your friends over with explosions game because the explosions didn't really like hurt. They just created shockwaves and like debris, like in the video right now. And it was just it's so much. It's such a good racing game. It's like fast. It's spectacular. It makes you feel like like a chase sequence from a good action movie. And it's just fun to boot up every now and then. Like they put in a like, look at this. You blow up the entire track. Like why would that's no good reason to. But then if you did that, if you did that in the first lap, that was if you did that in the second lap, nothing would happen. If you did it in the first lap, in the second lap, this airplane would like come down because you blew up the radio tower. So there were all these like these layers of just like absolutely ridiculous destruction. And I just like that racing game. I don't know. There's something about racing games that it's like racing games and fighting games are like two of my genres that I just like going back to because they're such like short little rapid bursts. Like I'm currently playing Fighter Z or Dragon Ball Fighters.
Yeah.
And I've been enjoying that a lot. It's just nice. It's booted up, play around. It replaced Injustice 2 for me. That's my go-to little fighting game. But yeah, Split Second, I just still boot that up. I don't know. I don't know why. I just like it very much.
We actually don't talk about racing games a lot on this show.
They're hard
because
they're not.
I don't think a lot of us really get into it, and for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think
As
the
a
last
game
big racing
developer,
game I played was Armageddon, man.
Armageddon. Yeah. PC games for sure.
as a game developer, can you speak to why those don't appeal to gamers like us? Do you have any insight into that?
I think in general, like I did a game jam a few years ago called a game jam is like a game making contest over a set amount of hours. So you go like 48 hours. This is the theme, make a game. And I did a game jam called Fuck This Jam, where the entire point of the game jam was to make a game in a genre you hate, and like 60% of them were racing games. So. I actually genuinely think that the main thing about racing games is that it reminds us too much of like the real world, but it's not far away enough to be interesting. Like it's like how a lot of gamers that have been gaming for all of their life generally avoid sports games, racing games, like those kind of games because they're just like the real thing, but in a video game.
That's true.
And I think in a way, that's why I like Split Second so much, is because it is so preposterous that as a racing game, it's fun. I also really like The Crew, which was like this big like America road trip racing game.
Yeah, it was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, or like Burnout 3.
Burnout Paradise is one of my favorite games of all time.
Yep.
So,
but it's like it's weird how racing games it's hard to talk about them. You drive a car,
right? But for me, the interesting thing of Burnout Paradise was like well, from Burnout in general was the crash mode, right?
Mhm.
It's reloading that specific crash and trying to get whatever the gold number was. And I
Yeah.
remember like me and my brother would sit there and do that, and it was the type of game where it was so fun to play that it was frustrating when you failed to the point of like anger. And for whatever reason, that's the type of shit that I like. Where we're playing Burnout, and like I miss a bus, like I somehow the car launches too far on the car in front of it, so it goes over it, and I can't get the extra point modifier. And so then I'm just like, God fucking damn it, and slam the controller. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go get another one because it's so much fun. But I haven't
Yeah.
seen that like in racing games in general. It's like, oh, let's go around this corner and let's go around this other corner, and all right, there's finish lap.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of interesting to think about because like when you talk about a racing game, it's a pretty specific thing, beginning and an end, and you're trying to get there as fast as possible. But then you have all sorts of other games that kind of are on the periphery. Like for instance, a game called Twisted Metal that I absolutely love, and it was sort of a racing game, but at the same time, it was more of a team deathmatch.
Yeah.
You know, where it was just like you were trying to destroy everyone, but there was at times an end if you're in the right game mode and stuff like that. And for Burnout, you know, with the tricks and the stunts and stuff like that, then you know, it at that point, if you're not just racing, is it a racing game? Is it a traditional racing game? But like it's interesting, like what Zeke was talking about, because the gameplay loop in a racing game is basically getting as fast as possible and then spending the rest of the race very fine tuning like that one thing as you make it to the end.
Yeah.
It's a very meticulous thing that some people love, but I'm in the same boat as you three, where it's like I'm not good enough at it for it to be that very fun for me. Like I'm just not good enough at it.
Well, it's
But man, I
also
gotta
one of
say, go ahead.
It's also entirely linear, like you pointed out. Like there's never a point in a racing game where there's very like technically from a gameplay perspective it never changes. Like you just do the same thing for the entire thing. And if you mess up in the first 10 seconds, you can just restart it. But if you mess up in the last 10 seconds, you need to restart your console
it.
or buy a new one or buy a new PC.
Right.
But that's I think that's why party racers are such a big genre in general, like Mario Kart as an example, is just because it's racing with room for silliness and like just messing around a bit. And I think again, like I think racing games and sports games in general just fall so close to our daily life that unless you have a very specific one for that specific fantasy of like I want to be really good at soccer or I want to be really good at NBA or like whatever, or I want to be a great driver, there's not much else to get there, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's like doesn't mean they're not good games. Like I said, I love a good racing game, but
Yeah, the party
they don't-
aspect of it is something that really speaks to like a racing game that I would get behind. And I remember the first and probably one of my favorite racing games was a party racing game that you would play in the arcade called I think it was Ivan Iron Man Stewart's like truck racing game. And it was like it was a arcade cabinet with 3 wheels, and you would stand with your friends, and it was like a kind of an ARPG look, like a tilted angle look, and you would like spin the wheel and you go around corners and you grab nitro and shit like that. And I remember really, really enjoying that game. But
is that it's like you look at top down, right? It's not 3D.
yeah. It's top down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I
I've
remember
played
that.
something like that before. I don't know
I think
if
it
it was
was
necessarily that one.
renamed to the Super Off-Road.
Yeah, off-road. That's
Yeah,
off-road.
yeah, okay, yes. I have played that before then. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it was in my local Godfather's Pizza, and whenever we'd go there for like after a Little League game or something, we'd all just line up quarters and just like pump it into
Nice.
you know Ivan Iron Man Stewart off-road game, and we'd just play it. And I'd always want to be the red one because there was like red, yellow, and blue or whatever, and I always that was my guy.
Yeah. I remember like Uniracer for the SNES was like fucking
Wow.
me and my brother, we would like not talk to each other for days after losing to one another in that game. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then like
Yeah.
in terms of arcade stuff, like Crazy Taxi, I think, and I guess Dreamcast when it came out on there that game is definitely like a big game to me. I don't know why I just did that. It's fine everywhere
Destruction
else.
Derby 2 for me.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
Destruction Derby 2, like I just skip the racing and just go straight into the arena, and then you have that start where all your cars would be in this big circle around the arena and you just hold forward. And then if you got lucky, you would all crash in the middle, and your car would go super high up, and like 20 of the other cars would like be taken out immediately.
Yeah.
You got unlucky, you were one of the 20 that got taken out, and you just reboot. But like me and my brother would just play that first section, like just race straight at the 20 other cars, get the big crash, and then just laugh and then restart. We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
It was pretty great.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like another. I guess sports games and racings kind of go hand in hand in terms.
I've been recently playing a very early beta of a sports game that I'm liking. It's called Dunk Lords.
Was it like a?
It's
Well, go ahead.
Can you spell that?
like basketball.
Yeah.
Dunk.
Yeah.
Oh, Dunk Lords. Okay.
And it's basically like this guy who worked on Spelunky really wanted to make a basketball game, so he made
Fucking
this
what?
super over the top NBA Jam style basketball game with like a bunch of characters and like powers and like modifiers and stuff. Yeah, this is the one. It's super over the top. It's super good. I wish there was a video.
Yeah, I might be able to find like a over the shoulder one. I don't know if they've uploaded anything.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, no, it's just a super fun. It's not out yet, but I've been playing that a lot. I enjoyed FIFA, to be honest, FIFA 18 recently. Like they
Yeah.
have this big like story mode, which is very uncommon in sports games. But I kind of dig the story mode. I had a good time.
I think honestly, you peeled the right banana when you talked about the goofiness, like because there was because I never even considered NBA Jam to be a sports game. It never struck me as a sports game, even though you're playing fucking basketball. That's like the whole thing. But it never struck me like that. It always struck me as like just a versus game rather than have anything to do with sports because of the ridiculousness of it. I mean, the giant heads, the over the top announcer, the 2v2 aspect of it, the non-realistic dunks you can do and shit like that. Like,
I mean,
I
everybody
completely
jumps.
understand that.
Yeah.
Everybody jumps like that, man. I don't know. Might just be you.
Yeah.
At least Rami does.
That's
Just
true.
saying.
It's true.
How else do you think I travel so much?
Yeah. You
Rocket
just
Rocket
jump.
League's another great example of the goofiness taking over.
Yeah. That game's
Rocket League is
huge
actually
example.
a great example of that. Also, the success it's had due to its niche for that exact stuff that we're talking about. Like that is a really good example.
Remember how we started this whole segment with saying like, yeah, racing game and sports games, and then we ended up with like the racing sports game that was like a massive hit.
Yeah. Well, Rocket like.
Oh, this is
That's
why
a
game
weird
development
game.
is hard.
Right. Yeah. By the way, if you guys haven't, we'll plug Dana again. If you haven't seen the Rocket League documentary that he did for No Clip, it's really fucking good.
Also, during this show, we have touched on some points that Danny also did in his Warframe no clip documentary.
I haven't watched that one yet. I've been meaning to, but I've not seen
Didn't
that one yet.
Rocket League also accidentally start? I remember that being an accident.
I think
I
it
think
was
they
like a
originally
minor
made-
bug in some game.
Yeah, they made
were
like a racing game, and somebody just added a ball as like a physics test,
Yeah.
and then they went like, and then they just never like they just played that instead of the game they wanted to make.
Yeah. The
I think
first,
that's the original story, and it also had like the worst title ever, didn't it?
yeah, it had a terrible title for the first game, and then they
Yeah, let me
renamed
see if
it
I
to
can
Rocket
find
League.
it.
I forgot what it was. It's super long.
Yeah,
No, it was
Yeah,
it was
it was
based
a
on a previous game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super acrobatic rocket
Supersonic
powered.
acrobatic rocket powered battle cars.
Yes. Also known as SAR PBC.
Yeah,
I'm just reminded of that of Robin Hood Men in Tights where it's like, you named yourself Latrine. It's like used to be Shithouse. Oh, it's a good change. Like, you named it Rocket League. That's pretty cool. It's like, yeah, it used to be blah 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 blah. Oh, good change. Good change.
Good change. Good change. Yeah.
It's true.
yeah.
It's true.
Naming a game is also one of those things that's just it doesn't make sense. It's like give your game a title that's going to be memorable. You're like Minecraft. It's like brilliant. It's
Yeah.
like what? That's not a brilliant. You literally put the word mine and the word
Is-
craft back together. And we're like, yes. This is
As
it.
someone who struggles when it gets to the point of like typing in an MMO character name that means absolutely nothing, I could not imagine naming something as important as like a fucking video game. Because a name sometimes is all you get with players. It's like, you want to play this
Right.
game Fart Lords? No. Not, actually, most people would probably want to play a game called Fart Lords.
Yeah.
But
Genital jousting. I mean, yeah. Come on.
Listen, as someone who has played a lot of indie games that with just weird ass titles, you can bury a game with a bad title. Like there was a really fun game that I played. It was a straightforward like Ghosts and Goblins kind of platformer, really fun, good graphics, all that shit. Really had a lot of potential, not a lot of content, but in the title of the game, it was something's quest, a fart for Ophelia or whatever. And I was like, who the fuck would play this game because of the title? The title like would turn people away from an actually decent platformer.
Huh.
Rami, no, but
no, go ahead, and then I have a comment.
You look at like popular games, and you just kind of give up sometimes. You're like, Fortnite, what, really? Like PlayerUnknown's Battleground, Dragon Age, Mass Effect. Like, what does all this shit mean? Like,
yeah.
And then you're just sitting there, just being like, okay, what are we gonna? Ridiculous fishing. Why? Well, it's fishing and it's ridiculous. Okay, done. Like. We were gonna call it radical fishing, but we didn't like that as much.
No, ridiculous. Yeah, ridiculous tests better.
What do you mean? Super Lure Hero was taken?
But that's the kind of stuff you just look, and it's the same. It's actually like a lot of people ask me about pricing. A lot of developers ask me like, "How do you price a game?" And I'm just like, "It's magic. You just say a number, and then you go like, $11.99. Yeah, that sounds good. Anybody any objections? No, 12. No, that's too much. Okay, $11.99. It is good." Like, you got like there's like
that,
form.
Yeah.
There's no form.
You actually brought up something else that I talk about quite a bit. Is the price point for an indie game. Depending on the game, depending on the content, depending on what it went into it, like if a lot of graphical love went into it or time, you can see the time spent and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of when I bring up a game like, man, this game is awesome, it's really cool, there's a lot of fun, like a lot of replay value. However, it's $30 fucking for an indie game. And you have to bring that up, like you have to be willing to spend $30 on a game like this, and you have to like it. And it seems like what goes into the like you said, it's magic, but it can't just be magic. Like what goes into pricing a game?
It literally is like
really.
You kind of look at how much you spend. Like you know, like oh, I spend this much. But people go like, okay, so you take your budget and you do like this and then this, but you don't know how much you're gonna sell. Like you have no idea up front. Like you don't know if I'm 30, then I'm gonna sell 100,000 copies, and if I'm at 15, I'm gonna sell 200,000 copies. So you just kind of go like, how much would I pay for it? And you ask a bunch of like good friends, like how much would you pay for it? And they ask a bunch of people who are absolutely not your friends, and you ask how much, and then you just kind of pick a number. Like it's literally just feel like the weird thing about video games when you think about it is we're not actually selling a thing. Like we make one copy of the game, right? Like once, and then what you buy is a copy of that file. That's all. Like there's no inherent value to the file except for the value that we ascribe to it as a group, not just me. If I say it's $100 and you say absolutely not, and everybody says absolutely not, then it's not worth $100. But if I started like $7.99, then people would also have bought it for $12, and I just screwed myself out of like $5 per sale. So you just kind of go like, okay, given that in like 3 months I'm gonna have to do a sale, right, and like drop the price by like 25%, and most people are gonna wait for that, and given that in a year and a half there's gonna be a humble bundle, this is the value that I think my game has for people that are waiting for this type of game, and you just kind of guess and then hope it works. And then you usually, if you're an experienced game developer, you guess a little bit higher, because if you aim too high and people go like, this too much, you just drop it by $2 and everybody's like, wow, what a great developer. And if you start $2 low,
that's actually you bring up a very interesting point that I've noticed from buying like shitloads of indie titles. I would say at least 9 out of 10, if not more, every single time I buy an indie title, it's on sale.
Yeah.
Every single time. It's like, this sale will run until March 3rd. And then you go back and look at it again. It's like, this sale will run until April 3rd. You know, it's like, it's always on sale.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of this is just weird psychology when you think about it. Like a lot of game developers, when they do a PC and a mobile version of a game, they make them at the same time. Like they're not ports. It's literally just the same file, right? But then we've been taught as game developers, release it on PC first, and then 3 months later, release it on mobile. Because you'll get the attention from the PC port, and then you'll get the attention from the mobile port. And then for the mobile one, everybody will see like, wow, how did they get this game to work on mobile? So, well, if you do it the other way around, you launch it on mobile first, and then 3 months later you launch a PC, everybody goes like, look at this shitty mobile game coming to PC.
You're literally talking about the Switch development process right now.
Yeah.
God.
But like it's that kind of stuff where you're just like there's so much like random stuff where it's just like this makes no sense, but also this is how it works, and pricing is one of them. Like an indie game is $15. Why?
Yeah.
Why
What-
is it 50? Why is it not
is there-
20?
One
Okay.
thing
Is
though
there
you said
any-
though, Rami, and hold on, I want to just real quick. You said you were talking about making copies of the base file, and how
Yeah.
there was no intrinsic value of a base file. But take like a photo of a painting by an artist. So there's millions of paintings out there, but depending on who painted it, assigns a different value to the piece. Is there any relationship with that in the indie dev world? Where you're Rami now. You're a somewhat known, well-known dude. I mean, you know what you're doing. When you create that one thing to be made copied of, doesn't it by itself have a higher intrinsic value than something made by, say, a college student that spent 7 hours on it? Like doesn't that influence the price to you at all?
I don't know. Like obviously, if you're better known, you can price a little bit higher. Like that's just a thing you can do. But you're also probably spending a bit more because if you're a 7-hour student, you have your artist friend work on it. As for Lambert, we don't. If an artist works for us, we like to pay them, right? So a lot of stuff changed between the time where I dropped out of school and asked a bunch of friends to help me make Super Crate Box, and now when those same people are getting like pretty good salaries, and I have to like gamble that at the end of the story, I will earn back what I paid them, because otherwise we're at a huge loss. So the context changes a lot. But I think what is interesting is the base file is the game, but what you're buying is never the base file. It's just a copy. So in a way, it's like you said, the analogy with a painting. Like if you have the Mona Lisa, that's worth a lot. But a photo of the Mona Lisa is not inherently worth anything unless we agree that it is. And that's basically what games are. Like games are a copy of the Mona Lisa that you get to hang in your house, right? So we have to like sort of agree to what that is worth and how much that is worth. And I believe that a good video game is worth money, right? Like it's an experience that you play.
Right.
It's something that can give you emotions or feelings or experiences or stories or characters or worlds that you love and like keep track of. And care to love, right? Like games that you will go on Reddit for and then call the developer names for weeks because you care so much. Like that's all. Like there's value in games inherently. It's just figuring out that value as a community, because this is not just the developers, right? It's the developers, the stores, the press, the streamers, the buyers. Like all of us together agree on a price for what it's worth. And that's where we price it. But there's not like a magic button I can press that just goes like, "Yep, your game is $11.99."
Steam hasn't invented that yet. Yeah, Valve's still working on it.
Yeah, Valve, like in a week, we don't get to price our own game.
It analyzes your source code and gives a suggested price.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I think
So I just
one of the
guess.
examples in recent memory of a game that I think nailed the pricing, because it fluctuated so much throughout its tenure, is Binding of Isaac. Binding of Isaac like went up and down in sales, and it was bundled, and it was just like, now you can get it for $2 now. It's like, oh, I bought it for 11 or whatever the fuck. Like I think they nailed how it's a good example of how a game can sell so well at just like going up and down in hills and valleys and finding its particular price point.
Well, Zeke and chat just nailed it. Ark started as a $15 early access game, and then when it came out, it was $60
Yeah.
because it sold so well at the low price that they were like, oh, we clearly got to do something about this.
One of the stories we always get reminded of is I think it was Autodesk. They did like a 3D program, and they originally sold it for like $60, and it barely sold. And then they later said that, well, I guess it's a corporate program, so they made it $2,000, and they actually sold a ton because people were like, well, clearly this program is a professional
Yeah.
program.
I've heard that before, yeah.
Very similar. Like you drop your game to $2, and people might look at it and go like, how good can a $2 game really be? So it's a mess, really. Like we have no idea, and we are just guessing, just like you all. And then we basically look at you and go, "Oh wow, they're really trashing this price point. Huh? Let's look at the sales figures. Also not great. I guess we should change that." And then
So the
you hope,
valuation of the product can be a variable in the value of the product.
yeah, yeah, we have no, like literally, we just look at it and then we look at whether you all agree with it, and if it's not okay, then we just go like, "Whoa."
It kind of
Okay.
reminds me of like Apple products. Like they're not worth as much as a PC as far as like power and all that kind of stuff goes, but they kind of get to assign how much it's worth because
Yeah.
people like the market has dictated that we will pay way too much for a laptop that does half as much
Yeah.
because it's Mac.
Yeah, I think that's when
And
it
it's got
gets
smooth edges. Come on, you can't forget smooth edges.
Yeah, I think that's when it gets a little scary is when someone knows that they can dictate how much something is worth, right? Because that means they have like so much stranglehold on it, on whatever they're a part of, that they're like, hey, this is $100, and that's just how much it is, and then
That's
they sell a
medical
billion of them.
pricing, JP. Yeah, that is essentially how drugs are marketed these days. That's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly.
But like it's an interesting, especially in pricing, it's an interesting one because AAA games really can't do what they were doing anymore. So that's why you're seeing like $60 base game, $30 season pass, $15 DLC, and then also microtransactions. It's just
Yeah,
the numbers don't add up anymore, and the numbers that we've agreed upon don't work anymore. So I think the industry really, like from my point of view, is in a pretty weirdly desperate time right now. Like we're really trying to figure out how to keep making games, but between like the race to the bottom of Steam, where we're now having to compete with like these freeware games that are doing really well, like a Fortnite is great, but
Yeah.
also if everybody's just playing Fortnite, then a lot of game devs are not going to make it. Which is nothing against people who are playing Fortnite, because if they're enjoying Fortnite, hey, all the power to you. But we've really hit that point of like very streamable, infinite content, multiplayer games that are free. Yeah, as the rest of the industry, we kind of have to figure out how to deal,
yeah.
and how that affects our pricing.
You're either a
Um,
free, like you said, Fortnite, or you're a God of War. Who knows how much money that fucking game cost, right?
Well-
like, there's so many weird sides of the spectrum there.
And here's another side of it that I'd love to know Rami's opinion on. So Rami, I know you don't deal with a lot of games that have like overarching IP, like Elder
Mhm.
Scrolls, which is the example I'm talking about. But what do you feel about companies like Bethesda that are taking existing IPs that used to be single player experiences that obviously don't make a huge amount of money because it's based on single copy sales, and then they take that
Mhm.
IP and they stop the genre and then turn it into something like an MMO that has returns that are not only monthly, but then they can put on top of like with expansions and things like that. Is that a smarter thing to do? Or is that the future? Or is that what do you think about stuff like that?
I mean, I'm a little sad about it, like personally, because I love those games. Those are a lot of the games of my childhood are like the big single player epics. But also, I think it's not as smart. It's not even smart. It's necessary. Like you want to keep that IP alive. Like you got to make money because the amount of money we're spending on a game like that is ridiculous. Like if you tell a company like, hey, you can take 2 risks a year, right? You can make 2 risks a year, and the rest have to be surefire. Like they have to work, and you're not even sure if they're gonna work. Like Call of Duty is one of those series that you look at and you're like, oh, those are gonna sell millions, and then you look at like one miss, and it's like, oh yeah, maybe not invincible at all. Like so if as a company you can basically get 4 shots by taking an old IP and turning it into an MMO. Yeah, of course you're going to do that. Like I get it. Like if I was responsible for 300 people's rent, like I'd probably make. That's why I don't go that big. That's why I stay indie. But
Yeah.
like, ooh,
Damn, that's insane to think about. Like you don't ever you never consider that coming from AAA games. Like I've got to put roofs over heads. Like I got to put
300
food in people.
on average. That's
Yeah,
That's it. Yep.
Jesus.
Video games.
People complain about that, and I, understandably, as a gamer, as a consumer, you want like this title to be better. But you got to think of it from their standpoint, where I want this title to sell enough so so I don't have to fucking fire anybody.
That's why it's
And
so
Zeke,
volatile.
want to take it to a
begin
next
with,
level.
yeah.
When you're talking about an MMO, you are talking about a game that the person who plays it has to rebuy the game every month to some degree. And then you compare that to a single player RPG experience that you buy once and never have to spend a penny on again. And it becomes like an obvious choice to the wrong people. But
makes
you
a
know,
lot
it becomes
of
an
sense.
obvious choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so incredibly sad because I love those games. And like, here's the thing: the thing that makes me hopeful is that the ability for us as indies to make like super high fidelity stuff is becoming more and more real, right? So you're seeing those single player experiences from indies a lot more now than you saw before. Whether they're like really small, like my co-founder made a game on his own called Minute with a bunch of friends that is exceptionally good, and it's just like this little Zelda deconstruction. Um, you're seeing those experiences come out of indies like more and more, and I hope that a bunch of AAAs will treat that single player genre as like their risk game. You know, like we're going to take a risk. We're going to make this a single player, one campaign thing. But you could already see it back in like the Mass Effect days, like the way they added multiplayer into their campaign and like made it like a thing. Like we're companies are not doing this like DLC season pass like microtransaction shit because they want to. At least I hope most of them aren't. They're doing because they otherwise don't know how to save their business. And I'm glad that we're now like, because like I said, all of this is imaginary, right? Like all of like the pricing and everything is imaginary. Like we're just agreeing on a value. And I'm glad that a lot of gamers have taken a stance and said like, here is where the imaginary line stops, and it's at this like kind of exploitative microtransaction model. Like because in the end it's an agreement. Like we have to agree, all of us, of what pricing model is acceptable. And clearly people are willing to buy a season pass for more content to support a game, and they're not willing to do the microtransaction thing, and they've made that loud and clear. And thank you all for doing that, because gosh, I really wouldn't want to put microtransactions in my game. So yay, well done, games community, you nailed it. But that's kind of, it's forever a negotiation between us and the players. And I think if we respect our players' time, then I like to think that even if players don't necessarily know what we put into a game or how much money or time or effort goes into a game, I hope that they will support us. If we treat their time with respect, they will treat us with, like the time to make more games. That's the hope.
Yeah.
So would you say like a giant foobar like fuck up on behalf of a giant company? Does that fall on a group, or does it fall on the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, or does it fall on like one person going like, we need to make fucking money, so put this in the game? And I'm not gonna say anything about EA, but I am. No, but the most recent thing, the most recent memory is that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's
what do
usually
you think is attributed to that? Because I don't want to believe that it's some like evil boss smoking a cigar in the shadows going, put that shit in the game, it'll make us money. Like, I don't want to believe that.
It's a little bit of all of them, actually. It's
Okay.
usually somebody going like, here are your targets, and this is popular in the industry right now, and this is the growth targets you got to hit. And then the development team going like, well, there's no way we can do that with season passes, so we're gonna have to look at other solutions. And then they end up with microtransactions. Because in mobile, they're the default. Like, honestly, they snuck into AAA games from mobile because mobile out-earned AAA at some point, pretty much. So the AAA developers are just like, wait a minute, infinite money. How do we enable that? How do we enable that cheat code for our game? And that's basically what they did, right? Like they just looked at it and they're like, well, I guess we have to hit these growth targets, we have to hit these numbers, and we're just gonna design the game around that. But I think the worst thing about the whole microtransaction thing is I think you can do them very respectfully.
Yeah.
Like you can do them well. It's not impossible. There's ways to do them so that the players feel like they're getting value for money. And I think as an industry, like I said, we don't know what we're doing. Like somebody has to fuck up so that we all can go like, okay, that's where the line is. Thank you all for like being those people, and we're just gonna not do that. Like
But it's a far stretch to be like, you guys should be thanking EA for doing that because
they're setting boundaries. So appreciate.
Yeah.
No, but in a way, that's really how it goes in the industry. Like, nobody is looking at EA in the industry and being, well, some people are, but most of us in the industry just go like, oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah.
just all the developers looking at just everybody sucking their teeth at once. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like watching a space shuttle launch and like mission
Honestly,
control.
It could
like,
have been everybody. It could have been, yeah. But it
On
could
that
have been
note, Rami,
anybody.
like, what was it like the day that you heard that they were pulling all the stuff from Battlefront 2? Like, was that a moment to you where it's like, okay, the audience has had it with loot boxes. They're done with it. Like, how did that work?
It was clearly this was the light, and it was nice to see the light. Like, because I've been since 2013, like back in the mobile days when we did Ridiculous Fishing, we've been pretty vocal like against microtransactions. Like, sure, in I try to like always on my Twitter, I try to explain things from an industry perspective, which with loot boxes is just kind of painful because it makes a lot of people think I'm pro like the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty stubbornly anti, and I've been fighting them since like 2013. But I think what's important about this is to realize that as an industry, we have no idea where the lines are. And somebody would have made that mistake. And like, it's easy to say like, oh, look, it's EA. But if it wasn't EA, it would have been UB or Activision or like whoever. Like, somebody would have pushed it that far. And then everybody would have gone like, okay, not there. Awkward. And then they roll it back. And honestly, I was shocked that they could do that. Like, that's a really good thing. Like, as a programmer, like thinking of last minute pulling out like a core feature of my game. Oh, wow, that must have been a shitty night for a whole bunch of people. Like, hey, you're going to work? Remember, like, the 6 months of work you put into this? Yep. Hit delete, please.
I imagine, like people at Ubisoft and other huge AAA developers seeing this happen to EA, and they had their, like, exact same kind of model in progress.
Without a doubt.
And they were just like, abort, guys! Abort!
Just kill the mission.
I'm going to need you to make me a red button so I can press it.
Yeah. No, 100%. There is no way that there were not at least like 10, 15 offices around the world where people were just watching that and being like, so shall we remove it from the game and make a press statement tomorrow that we would never do that?
We would never, ever do as they're sweeping the fucking game under the rug. We would never, ever.
No way that
like our consumers too much.
Yeah, man.
Like we do. Like, we genuinely, like, when you think about game development as a job, my entire job is around you as a player. That's literally it. Like, I fake buildings. I like make you feel better when you miss up a jump by just counting it as being on the platform anyway. When an enemy shoots at you from behind, we miss the first bullets. Just on purpose. Like, an enemy shoots at you from behind in a first-person shooter, the bullets miss. Why? Because otherwise you get shot in the back.
Right?
Yeah, they always go by. I think in BioShock that was like a hard rule.
Yeah.
First bullet cannot hit the player if the player cannot see where the bullet comes from. Like, our entire job is making you believe that this world matters, that your high score, which is a random number, is important, that your like beating time, which has nothing to do with anything, matters, that this character, which is a bunch of polygons on the screen, is important. Like, that's my job, is you, like, for you to believe that my world matters and that it is worth spending time in it. And then people go like, well, these developers are lazy and don't give a shit. It's like, for fuck's, what did you think I was doing the last few months? Like, Battlefront was Battlefront 2. I played that. I had a good time. Like, I really did, but like somewhere in the process, sometimes things mess up, and we're just trying. Like, it's a weird industry.
And people who are outraged in chat, if you're outraged right now, you're missing the fucking point. Like, the point of what he said was that his job is you.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I need to make sure that
he's not saying that he's trying to lie to you. He's trying to create a world for you. It's a very different thing. like.
Honestly, in a way, that Of course, that is lying. Like, this world isn't true.
Sure.
Like, the world of BioShock isn't real. The world of
Have you been to the bottom of the ocean, Rami? Come on. No. It's,
Oh yeah, I mean, I haven't checked.
That's right.
Okay, BioShock might be real. That's
yeah.
the one that might be real.
look,
But I
Ken Levine.
There's always a lighthouse, Rami.
Mr. Levine knows a thing or two. All right,
That
he's
evil
been in the
Senator,
dark
yes,
rooms.
there might be.
I cannot
Might
confirm
be.
the existence and
I
or
will
of life.
concede that there
But
might
Evil
be
Line
a
is
fucking
not-
rapture.
Yeah.
But all of these games aren't real. It's our job for us to make you believe that they're real, so that you have fun, right? So that you have a good time, so that you enjoy yourself, so that you can beat your friends, that you can play with your friends, that you can go through this world and like explore these places that are not real except for in these games. That's our job. And like, if you call that lying, fine by me. I call it game development. And if game development means that in Halo, every time you go from one area to the other area, there has to be like a little hallway that goes to the right and then to the left, so we can load the next zone and unload the previous zone without you seeing it. If you call that lying, then I guess lying is my job.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm just trying to make you have a good time. Like, I'm trying to make you have fun. Like, blow up some buildings while racing a game.
That's something that was said to me like early on when I just did like community theater and acting and stuff, and I was really into it for a long time. And one of the things that was pounded in my head is like, I mean, if you want to boil it down, yeah, we're lying. Like, we're on stage pretending we're characters and stuff, yeah. But
Yeah.
if you put yourself into that and you tell the truth as your character, something magical happens, and that's like same with video games.
Yeah. The player has to believe, right? That's all. Like, that's the end of the entire story. The player has to believe. In a game, in game design training, we get taught that the game doesn't happen on the screen. The game doesn't happen on the keyboard. The game happens in your head. Like, if you believe the game, then that's where the game happens. And if you don't believe the game, then it's broken. Like, if I make I make an epic jump across a chasm that is like this huge, super hard to reach jump, right? And you make it, then that should feel good. But if you're playing that game and you're running backwards and being an idiot about it and hitting the jump button 20 times and you accidentally make it across, then it's a very different moment, and it won't be real to you. Like, my job is to make sure that you don't find something that breaks your belief in this world. And we use a lot of tricks for that, including when you're playing a platformer or any 3D game with jumping, if you jump too late for like a second, we will still count it. We'll just still count it. We'll just pretend that you were on the ledge. Why? Because you have more fun.
Right.
That's it. That's the job. That's just have fun, y'all. Like, play these games. We love making them, and we hope you love playing them.
Speaking of that, I wanted to ask you.
Remember Go ahead.
I wanted to ask your opinion about games that purposefully like they're. I don't want it's like a joke that's a not joke, like a non-joke or something like that. There's games out there that are like break the fourth wall, and some of them that come to mind are like the Stanley Parable and Beginner's Guide and shit like that. Like, what are your feelings about games that do that purposely like break down what a game is supposed to be?
I thought they were fascinating. Honestly, Stanley Parable is one of my favorite games ever because it's such a good way of explaining what I just said. Like, but we don't have to like tell you. You can just play it. Like, the entire point of Stanley Parable is that you cannot be bigger than the game in the game. Like, the game we always have to have designed it. No matter what it is there because somebody put in those numbers and somebody wrote those. Even the funniest bugs, like that ragdoll that's messed up, that was us. Like, sure, it's a mess up, but it's because we did it.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's kind of like the fun of it, right? Like, is you get to be this thing in this world, and we get to decide what that is. And Stanley Parable does such a good job of just letting people play and then go like, oh, I guess there is no way to be the narrator, huh? And I just like that. I thought it was very clever. The Beginner's Guide is also really interesting, but I feel like that game is probably more interesting if you are a game developer, because it kind of messes with like what game development is.
Dude, it fucked with me for a long time, and I'm not a game dev. I absolutely loved, even more than the Stanley Parable. I loved playing that game, it elicited such an emotional response.
I think maybe if you're just a creative, like just having anything to do with creation and like ownership and authorship of like things you create, then the beginner's guide can really give you a pretty hard punch, to be honest. Like if he just kind of shows up and just like punches you in the face, and then he goes like, "Well, I hope you enjoyed that," and then the game's up.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't have much time left, but I did want to get to. Can you sum up like what press kit is
Oh God.
in like 2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah. No, so press kit is something I made because when you as a game developer try to communicate with the press or streamers or anything, you try to do that in a way that the press can or streamers or content creators whatsoever can easily access that and like find the information they need. So for you all in video content, it's important that you have some high quality video material that people can show, some B-roll of gameplay that people can show. Just a video of people playing, and you need some good screenshots so that the press doesn't use that 4-year-old screenshot that you accidentally took, and then now that's like the main screenshot and it's all old UI and embarrassing. So I made press kit, which is a little free tool that people can use to basically promote their games. And basically all it does is it makes it really easy for content creators and press to find all this information. What is the game? What is the summary of the game? What are the screenshots? What are the YouTube videos? I made it for myself, and then another indie developer, Phil Tibetowski from Octodad, said, "Hey, I want to use it." And then I went, "Oh, screw it, whatever. It's free for everybody," and I put it out online. And it's now being used by tens of thousands of games worldwide, which is pretty exciting. Oh God, that's my own press kit.
Uh-oh.
It's
how much
it's
work,
actually,
by the way, went into this? Was this a long process?
Oh my God! If I wish I could show you the original drawing, but the Vlambeer was drawn by my co-founder. We think by my co-founder because he doesn't remember because he was probably drunk. No, we've been looking for a company name for months, and he came back with this. It's actually a pun. Flambeer in Dutch is one letter away from flambeer with an F, and that means to flambe food. You know, when you like pour some alcoholic stuff on a food and then light it on fire. You know, they do it in restaurants.
Yeah.
Like a baked Alaska.
Flambeer with a V suddenly means flame bear, and he came back with this image. And it was drawn in his little notebook, and he just said like, "I don't remember who drew this, but I think Vlambeer is a really good name." And I was like, "Okay." So that's how we ended up. We don't know how much it took because he doesn't remember drawing it. Nice. This version was drawn in MS Paint in like 35 seconds.
Nice. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, that's
cool.
Years.
I know.
Here, Yeti Hunter.
Oh, yeah. I know Co needs to get going here pretty soon, so we're gonna let him do some shout outs, and I think me and Zeke might have some final questions for you. So Co, if you have any final questions, well, feel free to drop them. If not, we'll do shout outs.
Oh, dude, no, this has been awesome. I have about 30 final questions, so I think we'll probably just leave this right here.
Okay.
And next week when Rami comes back on, we can talk then, and go from there. No, but it's been awesome. It's been awesome. So anyway, hi everyone. My name is Co. I got to get out of here, unfortunately, because I have a meeting. Big thank you for watching today. Huge thanks to Rami. This has been one of those few shows that we didn't talk about any games we played or really anything Twitch related, because frankly, all of the stuff on here was super interesting and awesome. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did, because that's like one of the most quietest I've ever been in an episode, and I love the whole thing. So big thank you, Rami, and a huge thanks as always to Zeke and JP. My name is Co. You can find me every day at 8 a.m. EDT. I'm playing God of War right now. We also have a Pillars of Eternity 1 playthrough coming, BattleTech, which we'll talk about next week. More Hollow Knight, Frostpunk, and a lot of other fun stuff. And anyway, I got to go. So thank you for watching today, and have an awesome rest of your day. See you next week.
Good stuff. We'll see you next week. Make sure to leave with a funny face, because it'll be the last image will be stuck there. So
okay, I will be sure to do.
There you go. Perfect.
Nailed it.
Nailed
it. Perfect.
Beauty.
Yeah,
Beauty.
it's a beauty. It's a beauty.
Now,
Hey,
see, this image is apparently worth nothing, but if we take copies of it and we agree that they're worth money.
Yes. Yes.
Can I stick my finger in his mouth,
If you want to.
please?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, don't bite. Don't bite it. Don't bite it. La, 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 la.
Here,
Hold on, let me.
if you, yeah, if you want to put,
I go.
now if you want to put your finger in there, it'll actually disappear. Jesus Christ.
See, and this is that weird edge between professionalism.
Yes.
Because you can just make that work, and also this is exactly game development.
Yeah. Now I'm fixing the problem. All right, let's go ahead and fix all. There we
Yeah.
go. All right, now you're lined up. Cool.
How many times how many times during a development of a game do you have to go like, all right, let's stop fucking around?
Oh my god. This is like Nuclear Throne as a game happened because we couldn't stop messing around by just being like, let's add a quadruple rocket launch. And it's like, what does that mean? It's like, it shoots 4 rockets. What else? It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not a
there's
rocket
really
launcher
good
that shoots a
YouTube-
rocket launcher that shoots a rocket launcher that finally explodes, right?
Funny note, I did a live stream once with I did a live stream once where a streamer was playing Nuclear Throne, and he basically joked about something, and I decided that that was a good idea. So while he was streaming, I sent him a build with the joke in, and then eventually I made a nuke launcher that shoots a nuke, and the nuke multiplies into 3 nukes every second, but then those 3 nukes multiply into 3, and so on and so on. They all have electricity coming off of them, and they shoot lasers in disco colors. And I think there was more, but basically it like wrecked the game to
Yeah,
the point
it
where
sounds like
the
an
entire
FPS
screen
dropper.
just went white. It was great. I had such a good. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. I was super sleepy, and I was just crying with laughter.
Nice.
Speaking of that, I remember you doing at I don't remember which convention it was at, but I remember like walking through the convention. I was there to host, and then I hear this hoarse yelling voice. I'm like, I know that voice. I walk by, and someone is playing Nuclear Throne, and you are shouting about if he makes it past this level, we're gonna give out more copies of the game. You were totally like channeling Billy Mays, just like hoarse and just screaming and sweating and shouting about Nuclear Throne. It was fucking awesome.
PAX is really nice because they have those rules about how loud the volume of the booth can be, which makes it super pleasant to showcase, right? Because you go to Gamescom and they can just set the volume to 1 billion. But at PAX it means that I'm not allowed a microphone unless I like pay extra, I think. But they still want to shoutcast my own game, so I decided to just take it very literally and just shoutcast it. So every hour we do a challenge and let somebody try and beat the game, and if they manage to beat it, everybody watching gets a free copy of the game. So it's a really fun challenge. We get a lot of good players, but by the end of PAX, my voice is
Oh, it's gone. Yeah.
not happening.
That's like 1 day for me, so kudos to you for going for 3 days of just nonstop.
4 days.
4 days, yeah.
4
Why the
days,
fuck is it
yeah.
4 days? It's just
I don't know.
I gotta yell at people.
Fight PAX.
Oh, one thing I wanted to bring up, and the reason why like I have all these things, like I don't have these prepared. I actually have known Rami for a while, but they're very interesting things that I want the people who are watching, like the chat, to know. And I just want to say, if you've ever been like looking at your Twitter feed, like during a PAX event, I can't remember if it's one PAX event, and your feed just fills up with owls. Rami has some responsibility for that. Can you please tell us about disapproving owls?
Okay. The whole idea of that just started as like actually that time we met at PAX South, I think. What is happening to Co?
I'm just I'm sorry. Didn't mean to distract.
Yeah,
He's going
it's
in the
fine, it's
netherverse.
I'm enjoying that. I think after that party, we decided that the next day a bunch of us wanted to go eat sushi in San Antonio, which there's no part of that sounds like a very good idea.
It's not the worst idea, but go on.
We decided to go to sushi, and then at that place, and I can actually, like, if you give me 1 second, give me 1 second. Let me grab something.
Okay, I'll continue playing with Co.
Yeah,
Sounds weird.
you have fun with Co.
You do that. Yeah, I got something to grab too.
Okay. It's just gonna be me and 3D Co. We're just I don't know what's happening anymore. Both my guests have left me. They're just gone. What was that, Co? What? The nice part is if I just line it up just right, Co actually will just disappear. There he goes. He's gone. Oh, he's back. It's kind of evil.
Can't believe I almost forgot.
It's kind of evil.
What? So we were at this sushi place called the Sushi Hana. Oh, I'm sorry for the crackling.
That's fine. It's not that bad.
And in the corner of this restaurant is
Oh my God, you got a print of it?
this. And it's just these two owls that look so incredibly upset with whatever you're doing in life right now that we took a photo of it and we decided as a group that we would tweet it with just the phrase disapproving owls. It turns out that we had so many streamers there and so many people with pretty big Twitter followings that we actually got the phrase trending.
Yeah.
And yeah, from that point on, every now and then, a group of us goes for sushi. And Zeke, you'll appreciate this. This is actually the one.
Oh, is it?
Did you buy
Yeah, the
it from
restaurant
them?
gave it to me after. No, they gave it as a gift after
Oh, wow.
the last disapproving house they did. So this is the it even
Wow.
smells like restaurant a little.
Nice.
I'm not sure if I think of that as a good thing or a bad thing. But that's the history of the. It even has like stains in it. Like this is actually kind of gross when you. Anyway, yeah, this is the original. This is the actual one. This
The
is where
OG.
it started.
I have a story of my own
Yeah.
that I would like to share with a
Okay.
visual aid. That's what I went to go get. You know. I saw I don't even remember what convention it is. I've been to so many. But I saw a selfie that I don't know if it was John Carnage or you posted. It was either on Twitter or I looked at your phone and I went, you know what? Like seriously, you two guys are like some of the most inspiring guys that I've met through this gaming thing that we all kind of enjoy. And I want this on a poster, like those like inspirational posters that say like there's a guy on a mountain and it says like perseverance underneath it, those posters. And I said I want one that just says inspiration. And Rami goes, okay. And I went, what? He goes, you'll see. And later I get this in the mail and with a note or something saying like, I didn't do the conversion right of inches to centimeters and stuff because I do metric system. So I did it in inches. So it came out a lot bigger than I expected it to be. But this is what I got in the mail here. I don't know if you can see this.
Nice.
But this thing is fucking enormous. And it's just a picture of John Carnage and Rami and some random dude in a fucking elevator. And it's framed. It is
Nice.
framed. And it's on like canvas. It's not like poster paper. It's like on fucking canvas. And that's what I got in the mail from him. And it's one of my most treasured possessions.
It's one of those things where you're just like, okay, this is a little joke. I like pulling jokes. Like I've pulled a bunch of pranks in this games industry, and including like convincing people to introduce themselves as Steve Gaynor to Steve Gaynor, which is still going on, I think. But that one was supposed to be a bit less iconic because I genuinely had ordered it in what I thought was centimeters. So it was supposed to be like
Normal
this
size.
big.
8 by 11
And then
or something like that.
I saw the video of you receiving it, and I'm just like, oh no, that
Like
thing
3
is
feet high.
this thing is half of Zeke.
Nice.
That is
Great.
not okay.
It's perfect.
No, it's better that it's exaggeratedly big.
Yeah,
It's,
it's perfect.
it
It's perfect.
makes the joke that much more.
Anyway,
Should be your
I'll do it
centerpiece. For sure, Zeke. For sure.
yeah.
Well, before we do shoutouts, my final question is: what are you looking forward to like playing in the next couple of months with fall coming up, the big games
yeah.
coming out? What are you looking forward to?
I think Well Done Lords, as I said. I'm still playing a lot of Into the Breach. I'm really enjoying that. Let's see what else is happening. There's so much happening, isn't there?
Yeah, September is a pretty
Uh,
big month of like big games that are coming out. God of War, obviously, this month and about 9 days
yeah,
from now.
looking forward to that. Huge, huge.
I'm excited because people can break or finally talk about it tomorrow. So hopefully it's all good
embargo
things.
is gone.
Yeah, the embargo's up tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow or maybe the next day.
I mean, the Crew. I'm obviously a fan of the Crew, so I think there's a new Crew.
Yeah, the Crew 2
out.
comes out in May sometime, I think.
Yeah, somewhere later.
Or there's a beta or something in May, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yakuza 6 and the 17th.
Yeah.
What else is coming? There's
Detroit comes out in May.
Detroit's
the
coming
new
out.
Metro.
Is
I
that
kind
this
of want to
year?
know Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man is coming, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, September. That's September. I think that looks really
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah, I'm just, can they get that? Like, I'm always, superhero games are so hard that maybe they can pull it. Like, I like Insomniac. Like, they could probably pull it off.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
We'll see. What about
Let's see what else is
what about like Kingdom Hearts 3 if that actually comes out this year? Are you a
if that
Kingdom
comes
Hearts fan?
out. Yeah, my wife more than me,
Okay.
but she's been super excited for it forever. So I keep getting lost in the storyline. Like I once read this summary of the storyline and it was 29 pages, and I was like, you know what,
Whew. Yeah.
I might have to skip on this one. I'll just play it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Um,
Red Dead, I think, isn't that 2018 sometime? But it's probably gonna be
I don't know.
delayed.
Yeah, probably. It's Ooblets, little indie game that looks adorable. I'd want to play that. To be honest, I'm probably just still like I'm now playing Ni no Kuni 2,
Yeah.
and I'm having a great time. And then after that, I actually have to hop into Far Cry, which I've only played like an hour of. So, yeah, there's games. There's a lot of games. It's
Yeah.
actually, if you look at it, all things considered, it's a pretty good time for video games right now.
It is, yeah.
So-
Yeah, this is always kind of a little slow
Yeah,
before getting into the
cool.
summer. I guess as a streamer, when you're just playing games nonstop, you need a nonstop supply of games to play.
Yep.
That doesn't really happen till like September, October. Every once in a while, you get I think like, was it last year where like Horizon and Mass Effect and like all of these games all came out on the same? Or no, maybe it was when Zelda came out. There was all the games on the same day. Like
Yeah.
Horizon, Zelda, and Mass Effect all came out in the same weekish or so.
Last year was ridiculous.
It was crazy,
It was
yeah.
just completely nonsense.
Yeah, and then no one was even playing those because everyone was just playing PUBG. So
Yep. Hey, games industry.
yeah, it's kind of
So,
crazy.
what? Real quick, what was your game of the year last year?
Yeah.
What? I think Nier Automata.
Yeah.
Oh, Nier. Yeah, choice.
Yep.
A lot of people would
Yeah,
very,
Nier.
very much agree with you.
But I have to say, I had Nier Automata and then Persona 5, which I really enjoyed. But the
That's a
game
good
that
choice.
like probably stick with me is Yakuza 0. Because that's not the type of game I would normally play, and I went into it expecting sort of like bad Grand Theft Auto, but in Japan. And oh my god, that game it's too much everything in such a beautiful way. Isn't it? I'm like running towards a building because in this thriller crime plot, my brother is in a building on fire, and I'm just like, oh my god, I gotta go sit. And I walk by this karaoke bar, and I'm like, oh screw it, I can play Spider.
God damn it! You said, man, I could not have said it better. And I've said probably exactly the same thing with different words,
Yeah.
less eloquently. But Yakuza 0, after playing that, giving it a chance, I thought the same thing. I went, I'll give it a chance. Everybody says, and because of that, I am now in the middle of a franchise playthrough. I've played all of them. I'm in the middle of Yakuza 4 right now, on anticipating 6.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
just made Zeke's day by saying that. Ko maybe as well because he's a big Yakuza 0 fan now. Thanks to Zeke, who's thanks to
I
Bike
can't believe-
Man. So
There's just an entire plot line about beating a 14-year-old with like model racing cars, and this is like a genuine thing in the game. Like this is like a big quest. You have to like collect car pieces throughout the world just to mess up this 14-year-old kid
Yeah.
and like
Pocket
get him to see the
racer.
And then when you like win, there's like this super over exaggerated like animation, and then when you lose, he's like literally down on his knees, like why? And it's like, what is this game? And how had I never heard of it before? And it's just apparently I'm just blind to really good games sometimes.
Yeah, it happens
too, man.
when there's that many out there.
When you start giving games a chance, that's when you open yourself up to be surprised.
Yeah.
And Persona and Yakuza both were just like huge surprises.
Yeah, I would have never
Yeah.
thought you'd be a big Persona fan, Zeke. That was probably the one shock of last year when you're like, yeah, Persona's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, my mom is playing that right now.
Is she really?
Yep.
Well, your mom
She's,
played all of Final Fantasy, so I think Persona has a much better story than.
15 was her first ever video game. You know that? She
Yeah.
had never played a game before, and she played all of 15, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Because she has no, like, when you play games, normally you grow up with them. So you
Mhm.
see like a broken wall, and you look at it, and you're like, oh yeah, bomb. Like, I'm gonna blow that wall up, and I'm always just like, why did nobody fix that? Look at that wall.
Yeah.
Like, you got like this opening quest in 15, and you're like this crown prince that's like banished from this country or something, and she gets like the opening quest to bring a box from point A to point B, and she's just like, I'm a crown prince, I'm not bringing your box. What the fuck are you? And I'm just like, are you role playing or is this what is? And she's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm a prince. I'm not bringing it. She got scared by a shopkeeper because he tried to sell her weapons. Like this random guy, I talked to this guy on the street and he tried to sell me guns, and I was just like, nope, I'm out. And I was like, that makes so much sense, Mom.
Yeah. I'm telling people during the break, go read your Twitter because the whole thing is chronicled through that.
It was super good. And then after that, she played Dragon Age
Oh.
because I needed a game, Dragon Age Inquisition. I needed a game where the subquests made sense because Mom did no side quests in all of Final Fantasy 15.
Huh.
She just like rushed the entire game.
Yeah.
After she figured out how dual stick controls worked. And then in Dragon Age Inquisition, it makes sense to do all the side quests, so she did all of them. She 100%ed Dragon Age pretty much,
Holy shit.
which is ridiculous. Like the only thing she didn't do is get into a romance because she didn't have time for that. And then
Sure.
and then now she's playing Persona, and I think she's starting to understand the balance a bit between things you should do and things you must do.
Right.
So I think she just finished Futaba's Pyramid.
Okay. So that's what,
Where's
3? No, that's
Four,
like
I
4.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's 4 in, and yeah, she messages me now. She messaged me yesterday, and she's like, "I took a job at the florist," and I'm like, "What? Why would you take a job at the?" And I'm just, "Oh, Persona, right? Okay." It was like my mom had quit her job or something and turned into a florist. I'm like, "What the?" But yeah,
Well, there you go.
yeah, it's good stuff.
There you go.
That's amazing, man. I love that.
Yeah. Well, let's do some shout outs. We'll let Zeke go first, and then Rami, you'll say whatever you need to say. Do as Zeke does, I guess, is how we'll
Oh
say
no,
this.
that's a bad.
Yeah. Generally, yes. Generally, yes.
Okay.
Zeke,
Okay.
go ahead, sir.
What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in today. Man, what a fucking fantastic day. Eye-opening, fascinating conversation. Rami, I'm so glad that we've had you. Jesus Christ. Ugh. I'm so glad to have had you on the show because I'm finally, like, people are understanding why I talk about you frequently. Variety broadcaster. I broadcast usually at noon Pacific. I'm getting over a cold, so that's why I wasn't broadcasting on Monday or Tuesday. I powered through the Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm over the cold now. Now I'm just sneezing and sniffling, but I don't feel sick or tired. So after this, you're gonna want to tune in because after this, I'm allowed to unbox my Yakuza 6 Song of Life huge collector's edition box set. I'm gonna be unboxing that live after this show. Probably give me a half an hour so I can get some lunch in me. But yeah, at the top of the next hour, I'll be unboxing that. And then this weekend, I want to say on Saturday. On Saturday, I'm just going to show you real quick.
Uh-oh.
And that's it. That's all I'm going to show you.
Okay.
So I start my broadcast at noon Pacific, so you might want to be there tomorrow, Saturday, whatever. That's all I got. Follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, Ezekiel_I. Thank you.
Good stuff. Rami, thanks so much for being on the show. We had a blast chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome back anytime you can fit it in between your flights.
It'll be
Or-
rare, but if you ever want me again.
I wonder if we could actually do... I wonder if the internet would be okay enough for you to do a show while flying.
While flying is real, I actually try to live stream because I do a little development live stream every now and then, a call-in stream. But it turns out that they don't allow the ports that the video go through.
That would make sense.
I tried.
That would make sense. That would make sense. Anyways, go ahead and do some shout-outs of your own. Whatever you would like to say.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I'm like
No, I
way
got
off
you.
center. Oh, you got me. Wow. Yeah, thanks so much, everybody, for listening to me ramble about video game development for a little bit. Obviously, had some great help from everybody here. They're all amazing, but you all know that. I am THA_Rami on Twitter, where I mostly ramble about game development. And I do a live stream every now and then at THA_Rami on Twitch. If you want to keep track of my games, follow Vlambeer. That is right on the screen right there. We might have some announcement somewhere in the nearby future, but I'm not promising that because I've learned as a game developer to never promise anything until you're done with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's just in life.
yeah, that's true. You just kind of hope that game development doesn't do it does. Anyway, yeah, thanks so much. Keep in touch. If you have any other questions about game development or about creating games in general, let me know on Twitter. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Cool. Thanks again for coming on. Ko, once again, even though you're not here, appreciate you being here. And that's it.
On the screen real big. One
Do
more
what?
time. Like,
Oh, yeah,
just,
you just want
just do a shout out segment for one moment.
like that?
Perfect.
Yeah. We'll just end that way. It's a really high-res image of Ko.
Yeah,
It's like
that's good.
unbelievably... Here, I don't know if he can go outside. No, he won't go outside the frame.
I'm just this
is big.
Okay, so I'll just
Unless...
there we go.
Yeah, there you go. Now you can put us in. Good job. All right. We'll see you later. We're out of here. We'll see you next week for more Drop Frames, 1 o'clock Eastern, every Wednesday, right here. Bye-bye now.
He really uses a tongue scraper. That's good for him.
Bye.